According to Brinks' website, they aim to blend tradition and innovation to secure the future of commerce. Basically, they make it easier for companies to handle large amounts of cash being deposited or moved from the business to the bank, etc. The biggest armored truck robbery in U.S. history was a Dunbar armored robbery that took place on September 12, 1997 in Los Angeles. This heist remains one of the largest cash heists in U.S. history, netting $18.9 million. The mastermind, Alan Pace III, was a regional safety inspector for Dunbar and used his insider knowledge of the company's security protocols to orchestrate the crime. He recruited 5 childhood friends, carefully planning the robbery for months, and chose a Friday night when the vault would be full of cash deposits from banks and businesses. Using keys and access codes, disabled security cameras, and let his crew inside without triggering alarms. The men ambushed guards, restrained them, and loaded nearly 2,000 pounds of cash into a rented U-Haul truck before fleeing. Despite Pace's meticulous planning, such as removing surveillance tapes and targeting bills in non-sequential order, the conspirators eventually made mistakes, including laundering stolen money through real estate and one member's careless handling of cash straps that tied back to Dunbar. After an accomplice's ex-girlfriend tipped off the authorities, the FBI arrested the group in 2001, and all 6 were convicted, receiving lengthy prison sentences. The March 29, 1997 Loomis Fargo robbery in Jacksonville, Florida was another massive armored car inside job, ranking among the largest cash thefts in U.S. history. The perpetrator, Philip Noel Johnson, was a 33-year-old armored truck driver for Loomis Fargo who exploited his position during a Saturday morning pickup. Armed with his service revolver, Johnson overpowered and handcuffed his 2 fellow guards, leaving them tied up in different locations before driving off in the armored van. He made off with $18.8 million in cash, much of it in $100 bills packed into bags weighing thousands of pounds. Johnson had carefully scouted his route and rehearsed the timing, but his downfall came in the weeks after the heist when he stashed the money in North Carolina storage unit under false names. Federal agents tracked him after noticing irregularities, including his sudden spending and travel patterns. In July 1997, they found him in Mexico living under an alias. Johnson was extradited to the U.S., convicted of bank larceny, and sentenced to 25 years in federal prison. Most of the cash was recovered, though some was never accounted for, and the robbery showed both the vulnerability of armored car operations and the risk of relying too heavily on a single trusted employee. The Dunbar robbery was the most meticulously planned robbery in U.S. armored car history, the gold standard, involving a trusted insider and a recruited crew. The plan lasted 4 years before unraveling. The Loomis Fargo robbery was a bold but sloppy inside job. Johnson nearly pulled it off, but was caught within months. Philadelphia has seen its share of violent crime and brazen thefts and other mishaps involving armored cars. In 1981, an unemployed longshoreman named Joey Coyle inadvertently discovered 2 canvas bags filled with $1.2 million in cash that had fallen from an armored van in South Philadelphia. Thinking the money was abandoned, he took it, but he was eventually arrested. He was found not guilty by reason of temporary insanity. Almost all of the $1.2 million in cash was recovered. This unusual case inspired the 1993 film Money for Nothing and a nonfiction book called Finders Keepers. In a rare and tragic incident, a Brinks security officer was shot and killed while riding an escalator inside a Sears in Abington during a busy holiday season in 1977. These thieves escaped with $105,000 in cash. A more unusual case occurred when a tractor trailer carrying coins was broken into near Philadelphia Mills. Thieves made off with over $200,000 in dimes, leaving coins scattered across the lot. I have a whole video about this specific case on the channel. In October 2023, an armored Brinks truck servicing a Bank of America ATM in Philadelphia was robbed. The driver was shot in the side and kicked after being disarmed. The suspect fled in a Chevy Malibu. The case remains unsolved to this day.
We're at the Bank of America that's basically across the street from the Lowe's and the IKEA down here in this section. That's the Brinks truck that is still here that 24-year-old driver was in. Police telling us that that driver pulled up here to the ATM. He was making some sort of delivery, and a tannish or gold vehicle was parked in front. A couple of guys got out of that vehicle and then attacked that 24-year-old worker. There was some sort of fight, and that worker ended up getting shot. We're told he was wearing a bulletproof vest, but unfortunately, that bullet went through the side of it, struck him in the chest, and he's in critical condition and was rushed to the hospital. We're also told during that struggle, the worker's gun was stolen. Police right now don't believe that that worker's gun was used against him. They believe that those suspects had their own weapons. But as you can see, this area is still shut down. They just finished picking up bags of evidence and evidence markers from the ground over here in front of the trucks.
The summer of 2025 introduced a wave of armored truck robberies that stunned law enforcement and left millions of dollars hanging in the balance. With insider knowledge, heavy firepower, and a pattern that spread across the city, these robberies echo some of the most infamous heists in American history. On June 21st, 2025, in Port Richmond, Philadelphia, just after 8 a.m., a Brinks armored vehicle pulls into an alley behind a Home Depot. What happens next is straight out of a crime thriller. Armed men ambush the driver, wrestle away his keys, and within minutes disappear with over $2 million in cash. The FBI would later reveal that the suspects were Deshaun Hughes Murchison, Brian Wallace, and Trayvon Jackson, a former Brinks employee who insiders believe provided the critical knowledge that made this robbery possible. Over the next month, armored trucks across the region became targets. June 26th, a Loomis truck outside an Aldi.
I can't believe it's happening again.
Evelyn Cruz heard about last weekend's armed robbery of a Brinks armored truck in Port Richmond, and to her surprise, another armored truck was robbed, this time at the Aldi in Lawncrest where she just finished shopping.
It's shocking. I thought it was hard to get in an armored truck and rob somebody like that.
Philly police say Thursday's armed robbery involved this Loomis armored truck. It happened around 3 in the afternoon on Whitaker Avenue, where many come to shop and eat. Officers say the Loomis driver was in uniform and armed with a gun.
He was about to make a cash delivery when he was in the back of that armored vehicle retrieving the cash. That's when he was approached by 2 masked men. One had a rifle, one had a handgun.
Police say the masked suspects pointed their guns at the driver and stole his gun and a bag of cash from the rear of the armored car containing $1,000. They were seen getting away in a brown vehicle, possibly a Nissan Maxima, driven by a third suspect.
And only for $1,000, that's all they got. I don't think it was very worth it for them.
Yeah.
And that's probably like a really high crime, so you're gonna get like a lot of years for that if they get caught.
Police tell Fox 29 Saturday morning's armed robbery of a Brinks truck near this Home Depot in Port Richmond also involved 2 armed men wearing masks who got away in a black Hyundai with a stolen firearm and cash.
We did have another armored vehicle robbery, and we're going to look to see if it's the similar method of operation, similar description of our perpetrators.
July 2nd, a Brinks vehicle at a Dollar General.
In Pennsylvania, a manhunt continues for 2 armed suspects accused of robbing an armored car. Police say the duo got away with hundreds of thousands of dollars. ABC's Olivia Rubin brings us a look at the surveillance video of the brazen heist.
Today, an urgent hunt for these 2 suspects caught on surveillance cameras robbing the driver of an armored vehicle at gunpoint, making off with hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash.
Colgate Road, H Mart. Brinks truck was robbed.
It was around 10:30 Tuesday morning at an H Mart grocery store in Cheltenham, Pennsylvania. In the video, you see the driver of the armored vehicle carrying a money bag into the store. But just before they step inside, you see the 2 suspects, guns raised, coming up behind them. Just outside of the camera's view, police say they then forced the driver to turn over their weapon and the bag of money. Then you see the suspects, again, both wearing masks, covering their heads, taking off, one still pointing the gun at the driver. Police say they got away with an estimated $700,000 in cash.
The suspects approached, committed the robbery, and fled, all in a course of 15 to 20 seconds.
No shots were fired and no one was injured. It's unclear if the armored car driver had a partner or was alone. Police say they later found the getaway car, a black Acura, but no one inside. Now the suspects still on the loose. Officials describe them as, quote, 2 black males, one armed with an AR-15 style pistol, the other with a handgun.
July 15th, and yet another armored car in Northeast Philly. But the robbery that the FBI alleges was done by these three was on Saturday, June 21st, 2025 at approximately 8:05 a.m. Philadelphia Police Department officers from the 24th District responded to a radio call for a robbery in progress at a Home Depot located at 2539 Castor Ave in Northeast Philly. Upon arrival, 24th District officers located DS, who is the driver for Brinks. The complainant, DS, stated that while he was walking down the rear alley of the Home Depot off the 3700 block of Thompson Street, he was approached from behind by two men armed with AR-style rifles. The two men forced DS to the ground and disarmed him of his Brinks-issued firearm and took away his keys. According to DS, Deshaun Hughes Murchison stayed with him while Trayvon Jackson gained access to the Brinks truck. Immediately after the robbery, members of the Philadelphia Police Department, East Detective Division, and the FBI Violent Crimes Task Force, as well as PPD CSI, processed the scene.
It happened just before 8 o'clock this morning, and sources are telling us that Brinks driver was alone in the truck when he was approached by two armed men who made off with more than $1 million in cash and his gun. Philadelphia police and the FBI responding to an armored truck heist in Port Richmond. Sources say at least $1.5 million was stolen when that Brinks truck made a stop at this Home Depot in the 3700 block of East Thompson Street.
1.5 million, you said? Yeah, that's crazy. I had pulled up, I seen the truck, but I didn't know what was going on for real. It was just a whole bunch of tape up, but that is crazy though.
Shoppers at the Target behind the Home Depot watched investigators process the scene. Just before 8 a.m., two armed men in all black wearing ski masks ambushed the driver who was operating the truck alone. They stole the driver's gun too. Investigators have now left and taken the Brinks truck away. They focused the majority of their attention on this alleyway that runs alongside the Home Depot.
Who would think about doing something like that? You know what I mean? You're going to get caught eventually.
Usually stuff like this does not even happen around here. It just feels unsafe anymore.
Sources say investigators are looking into another armed robbery of a Brinks truck, also involving two suspects. It happened June 2nd in Queens, New York. In that case, the driver and armed guard were robbed of a gun and $300,000 in cash. Back in Philadelphia, they continue to investigate. Those two armed men, according to police, were last seen fleeing southbound in a black Hyundai here on East Thompson Street.
DS was interviewed and video surveillance in the immediate area was recovered. According to Brinks, approximately $2.25 million in United States currency was taken from inside the Brinks trucks, as well as a cell scanner. The cellular scanner was recovered by law enforcement 4 blocks from the scene of the robbery and was broken when found after being thrown out of a car window. FBI special agents contacted the Real-Time Crime Center, or RTCC, for any and all vehicles in the area of Aramingo and Castor at the time of the robbery. RTCC provided back a Hyundai Sonata with a Virginia temporary license plate traveling northbound on the 3700 block of Aramingo Avenue at 8:04 a.m., which is consistent with the direction of travel the men used directly after the robbery. The difference in this case and past armored car robberies in Philly was that this one was worth a lot of capital, and after all, the cops' #1 job is to protect capital and commerce. Being as the amount stolen was so large and over $2 million, the FBI and law enforcement had to act and act quickly. The tracking of the individuals the FBI alleges was involved in this robbery started almost immediately. In the days following the robbery, law enforcement conducted a canvass of the area in and around the robbery to attempt to obtain surveillance video. Law enforcement recovered video surveillance of the Hyundai Sonata used by robbers to approach the Brinks trucks, with both the temporary tag as seen at the time of the robbery and with a Pennsylvania license plate on June 21st. Law enforcement ran the registration, which revealed that the Hyundai Sonata was a rented vehicle through Enterprise. Law enforcement contacted Enterprise, who provided information on the Hyundai. They told law enforcement that employee Brian Wallace rented a Hyundai Sonata on June 19th at around 6:40 a.m., returning it on June 21st at around 11:30 a.m., less than 4 hours after the robbery. Wallace, whose rental agreement included his current address and phone number, and he was scheduled to work on June 21st but failed to report. Brian Wallace worked only 2 hours on June 22nd, the day after the robbery, and hasn't returned to work since. Enterprise video confirmed Wallace rented a Hyundai Sonata on June 19th and returned it on June 21st. Video shows him exit the parking lot, walk toward a silver Ford sedan, and enter the rear passenger seat. License plate readers and additional video recovered led investigators to identify this vehicle as a silver Ford Fusion, which is tied to Deshaun Hughes Murchison. Automated license plate reader searches showed that on the afternoon before the robbery on June 20th, the Hyundai Sonata was captured near the northeast corner of 58th and Larchwood. This location is on the side street adjacent to Addison Street, which is approximately 200 feet away from the front door of Trayvon Jackson. Trayvon Jackson was a Brinks employee who was suspended and later terminated as a result of an internal theft investigation. Brinks also provided information that Jackson had been assigned to drive the very truck that was robbed on 2 dates prior to the robbery, May 5th and June 3rd, 2025. Brinks showed law enforcement a video of Trayvon Jackson, an employee of theirs who they say resembled the masked robber on the June 21st Brinks truck robbery. Law enforcement observed a silver Ford Fusion following the Hyundai Sonata used in the robbery on June 21st. Both vehicles were seen together 90 minutes before the robbery and several hours after, near the Philadelphia airport. Records checks revealed the Ford Fusion's VIN and legal owner, Deshaun Hughes Murchison. Murchison, whose address is on his driver's license, was documented operating the Fusion in 9 police car stops between March 5th, 2024 and June 1st, 2025. To recap how they caught the three. As alleged, investigators determined that the Ford Fusion belonged to Hughes Murchison and the Hyundai Sonata had been rented by Wallace, who returned the car a few hours after the robbery. Video surveillance footage obtained by law enforcement showed that after returning the Sonata, Wallace walked to Hughes Murchison's Fusion, got into the passenger side, and the vehicle left. Cell records placed the phones of defendants Wallace and Jackson in the area of the car rental site at that time, the complaints allege, and placed Wallace and Hughes Murchison's phone in the area of the Home Depot at the time of the robbery. As detailed in court filings, Brinks advised investigators that Jackson had been a Brinks employee until he was suspended and then terminated after an internal investigation. From June 22nd to July 15th, 2025, Hughes Murchison's phone and Trayvon Jackson's had 56 calls completed between the two. During a search of Trayvon Jackson's home, more than $1 million in cash was found, along with paper money band used by Brinks to package currency. 2 long guns, consistent in appearance with those used in the robberies, were also found, along with a stolen firearm. Brian Wallace was arrested in a hotel room where a loaded firearm was found, and another loaded firearm was recovered in his home during a search, as well as empty gun boxes and live ammunition. Additionally, $5,213 in cash was found with Wallace upon his arrest, and another $9,616 in cash was found in his home. The government found just over $1.1 million of the money stolen during the search warrants conducted in early August, leaving approximately $900,000 unaccounted for. All three are charged with violating the Hobbs Act, the use of a firearm in furtherance of a violent crime, and aiding and abetting. All three were denied bail. The 3 men discussed in this video are all innocent until proven guilty, and I will update the case as it moves through the court system. I'm gonna leave it there for now. Thanks for watching American Confidential, and until next time, be safe.